Okay, so right out of the gate, I will say Killer kind of redeemed himself in this chapter. Like, don't get me wrong, he still went out like a bitch in my opinion, but I'm at least content with the idea that in terms of the way the Hermit and Killer fight ended, that Killer ultimately chose to blow himself up in an attempt to take Hermit with him, rather than just pretty much more of what we saw up to this point of Hermit just kind of beating his ass again and again and again, and just letting Hermit just kind of Hermit tossing him around more. And I'll even give Killer credit for infecting Hermit on his way out, but yeah, as a whole, Killer still went. I'll be honest, Killer, even knowing all this, Killer to me still went out in a very just underwhelming way. The only credit I can give Killer in this chapter is that you could say that they're just so committed to that. It is kind of a very interesting twist that the Dark Stars are just so committed to serving Ziggy and killing the Starshines that they are resolved to do anything to achieve that goal, which again doesn't itself add a slight hint of tragedy to the whole thing, that knowing they are people the Starshines knew, and that Killer would willingly do something like that to someone he once cared about without hesitation. But again, as far as the whole structure of the fight itself between last week's chapter and this chapter, it just, I don't know, I expected something more out of it. Having said that, that's how I view the fight as an isolated incident and an isolated moment. But in context of the chapter as a whole, holy shit, Mashima. So I'll just get this out of the way. I do not believe Mashima is going to kill Homer of all the ones classified as a Starshine. I do believe she's the one who will more than likely survive. But as far as Ivry and Hermit, yeah, that's the part that I believe is much more complicated, because at this point I wholeheartedly believe he's much more willing to kill them at this point. But my question is he going to stick? Because here's the thing. On one hand, it has been heavily foreshadowed since Witch's death that the Starshines are destined to die. But like Witch's death, is it a destiny? But unlike Witch's death or even Valkyrie's, it begs the question: are these two deaths going to be set in stone? Like don't get me wrong. After we, for instance, what we can ascertain from this conversation between Ziggy and Elsie, Ziggy has more or less verified the idea that the concept of time at this point has no choice but to go forward on its linear path. But if what can be believed about about the time Rebecca spent studying the concept of her powers alongside Noah, then there is another layer to her abilities she hasn't unlocked yet, and can possibly use this power to prevent all this from happening. And this chapter in itself does also kind of set the stage for all that to happen, especially now that Shiki did finally save Rebecca. I think just the emotional stress of all this is at once is going to cause her to subconsciously tap into that power just like she did the first time she awakened her power. And because the other thing that makes me think about this as well is that looking at the entirety of Eden Zero as a whole, Mashima has in fact drawn upon a lot of Star Wars for reference points, but even more so taken Lucas's whole "it's like poetry, it rhymes" kind of philosophy to a much more literal degree in Eden Zero. So it would almost make sense for now when everything has gone to shit in the same way that everything went to shit in the Drac and Joe arc in the arc with Drac and Joe, that like now that she's faced with that very same dilemma, very same situation, actually something even worse, that the next level or next layer of her powers would awaken. Like that's it almost makes sense. Like it almost makes sense now for that to be the case, because this feels like the perfect narrative moment for that to happen. However, with that said, I also think Mashima is still going to force the worst case scenario upon us before we get to that moment where Rebecca awakens, whatever latent ability she has yet to tap into. which also means that we are going to get a full-on look as to what truly is locked behind the iron door. Now I'd have to reread again because I don't know, but what Clown says is kind of interesting because if he's going to open the door, how's he going to do that without the shining stars? It was stated the shining stars are the only ones capable of unlocking that door, but with them dead, how is that possible? But again, knowing Ziggy, he's probably programmed the Dark Stars with whatever coding or ability the Starshines had to open that door. So yeah, I got a couple. There are some things that don't entirely add up here, but I'm sure Ziggy has whatever it is that allows that has locked that door, and that the Starshines, that to the point where the Starshines are the only ones capable. I'm sure whatever it is that they have, I'm almost positive the Dark Stars have too. Otherwise, they wouldn't be tasked with killing the Starshines. Now, with that said, I also want to talk about the possibility of, even if Rebecca does awaken some hidden aspect of her power, how none of that is going to change, and it's still the fate of Ivry and Hermit to die, because after seeing what Weiss did in this chapter, he has kind of, Majima has kind of cemented Weiss as kind of Hermit's successor, further kind of laying the groundwork for the idea that the age of the shining stars is coming to an end. So for as much as I would hate for Majima to kill the last remaining members of the Starshines, regardless of what Rebecca does with her power, if at all, I do have to admit that Majima has kind of cleverly laid the groundwork for that to be the case, as if it ends up being the case that Weiss ends up becoming the next human successor to a Starshine, then all the groundwork is kind of there, perfectly laid out for that to happen, whether Hermit and Ivry die by the end of this or not. Majima, I think, has really been pushing heavily on the successor idea that the human characters will inherit the will of the Starshines, and either scenario seems plausible at this point to me, but I am still personally holding on to a little shred of hope that Majima's not going to kill Ivry and Hermit just yet, but at the same time, I wouldn't put it past them if their deaths end up being permanent as well. Now, that being said, I think the only real complaint I think I have about this chapter, honestly, is, again, it ended far too soon, because that fucking ending was a total cock tease on Majima's part. Really, dude, Majima, my dude, you're ending it there. Are you kidding me? This is one of those, this is one of those, final, this is one of those endings to me where Majima loves fucking through his, fucking with us through his cliffhangers. That is the one thing I know with absolute certainty about the man. He just enjoys teasing us consistently, and I know a lot of, and don't get me wrong, I know a lot of manga do this in general, but Majima, there's a way Majima does it that's especially cruel. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much all I got for this review. If you enjoyed the video, like, comment, subscribe, follow me on Twitter, Analyst Crunchyroll, be sure to notification bell, the subscribe button, and just share the video around, guys. Dark Knight of Anime, signing off. Later, everyone.